How's it going? Welcome back. It's Jonathan. So you're probably wondering how to forecast trends of individual stocks. Well, I have some good news and some bad news. First of all, the bad news. I won't be able to teach you this in full. I'm actually just going to break down one section of it, okay? So this is from Louise McWhirter's book, and we cover this in the McWhirter forecasting course. But let's take a look. I'll just take you a look through one portion, which is going to be the Mars portion, just to give you an idea on a one-sided factor, okay? So McWhirter would say nothing would be more advantageous to the average trader than a simplified method whereby he could tell at a glance the future possibilities of a stock for investment purposes. This chapter offers a system based on the transits of the major planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, in aspect to the Sun, Moon, and planetary ruler of the sign which the stock was incorporated. Usually the trends of stocks, either up, down, or steady, conforms to the general trend of the stock market. But there are always some stocks which move opposite to the general trend, and it is very important to know these stocks to avoid tying up money in a company which is not going to show a profit. Secondly, everyone wants to show when the stock has reached a low buying level, and the only way this information can be attained is by studying the stock individually and noting what the stock has done in the past. So we're going to move down now because basically we're going to be covering one aspect of this, which is the Mars aspect. So she says here, Mars, which is this glyph here, governs the activity of a stock. Whenever Mars, at the time of incorporation or by transit, strongly aspects the Sun, Moon, Jupiter, or its own place at the time of incorporation, the stock will fluctuate strongly. While under the stimuli of Mars, other aspects in force at the time of the Mars transits determine whether the stock will move up, down, or just back and fill for the time being, such as a sideways trend. Always look to see whether the stock is temporarily under the aspect of Mars. If it starts moving in a very active manner, unless there are other testimonies present which indicate that the stock is in an uptrend, do not rush to buy stock because it suddenly becomes active. Aspects from Mars pass very quickly and you may find yourself later or in a short time tied up in an inactive stock. So basically what she's saying here is that when Mars becomes active, either by transit or transits to its natal, what's going to happen is that the stock is going to become active. It's going to go either up really quickly, down really quickly, or become quite volatile, okay? So we're looking for those moves. So if I were to draw it, we have the move up, the move down, and then she said, or become range bound. So what we're looking for here is now we're going to apply this theory and we're going to be trying to figure out what the stock or what the market is doing and if it's actually under the activeness of Mars at the time of this transit. So I've actually just got this up in timing solutions, okay? Now what I've got here is I've got basically an energy level or an orb level, and I've got it set to 5 degrees. Now, for conjunctions and oppositions, we should be using an orb of up to 10 degrees. So this is not going to be a 100% graphical representation of this. So I've set it at 5 degrees because your trines and your squares, etc., should be set to 5. So it's just to keep it simple and obviously to make these ranges here not so large. Now we need to just take into account this one more point. So she says it will become active while under the stimuli of Mars. Then she says other aspects in force at the time of Mars transits determine whether the stock will move up or down or just sideways. Now at this point in time, I've not added anything else to this. I've only added the Mars transit, okay? So I've only done Mars. So I'm not able to tell you if it's going to move up, down, or move sideways. And I've only added Mars, which means I'm not able to tell if there are any other planetary alignments from all her other rules which are currently active at the time of this. So we're not looking for 100% guarantee or 100% signal that this is going to do anything, but let's just walk through and see what happens in the market when Mars becomes active. Again, we're looking for moves higher in price, which become quite volatile, or moves down, which are volatile, and then the market can just become range bound, up, down, up, down, up, down, in generally a volatile sense. So we have this orb period. It starts on the left and it ends on the right, and then we have the peak, and that's basically when Mars is at its strongest. And then we have basically this left and this right section, which is basically the strength of it moving into it, and then the strength of it moving out of it. Okay, so Mars gets stronger into the peak, and then it gets weaker as it goes away. So what we can see here is the market's sort of just moving up slowly, and then we start to get larger spikes, and then boom, right into the peak. So it becomes very volatile, and the market's still in an uptrend, so a lot of people are now feverishly buying into it. However, Mars energy is now waning off on that uptrend, okay? Here we have the market moving down. It's quite volatile. We don't know exactly what's happening here. Mars becomes active in this point here, and we see this market move down into its low before the energy waning off, and then Mars is, the market is able to basically reverse. So the market I am trading, which I didn't tell you, is actually Bitcoin, okay? So that's the market we're analyzing. In this instance, we have two aspects occurring. So the market is moving down, Mars becomes active, and it's actually bearish active. So the market's moving really down just straight after the midpoint right here in the middle, moves down really strongly. Then the energy level wanes, and we can see that the market sort of reverses in this point. Mars becomes active again, and we get this rocket right at the midpoint of that orb. And then the energy disappears from Mars, so it's not actually active right here. It then becomes activated again right here. The market sort of tops out. The market then rushes down, trades sideways into this little orb period, and then resumes its trend down. So this is kind of like a stagnation point here, to be honest. All right, so we've got a lot of energy in this area here. So actually what this would indicate is because we've got the energy moving higher, and then it comes down into this point here, and then it moves higher again. Could be a retrograde motion of a planet, or there could be two planets getting interacted by Mars right here. So at this point here, looks like the market tops out here, Mars becomes active, it gushes down into this point here. So right here it moves into its lowest at the peak, and then it sort of wanes off into here. Market moves up, near the peak, it gushes down again. So we've got two gushes down into the peak, and then the energy wanes off, and then the market trades sideways before selling off into whatever reason was here. Okay, here, so it's quite sideways at the moment. Nothing really happens here. Bit of volatility, but couldn't say it's any different to what happened over here. The energy moves down, sort of light trends, and then it gets quite active in this portion right here, and then that just resumes doing not a lot. Moves down once more, does not a lot. Mars becomes active here, strong gush up. Then it goes inactive, energy level wanes, strong gush up, then it becomes inactive. Then as the energy level, so again, I'm not too sure, just telling you right now what planet's interacting right now. I'm just showing you the energy levels. At this point here, it becomes really active and shoots down. As the energy level fades, it becomes inactive again. Here it becomes active again. And then over here becomes really active again. So this is the energy levels of Mars, okay? So this point in here, Mars becomes active right here. We get a lot of volatility. The energy level stays quite strong around this point, and then it wanes off. Okay, so this whole period was volatility from, you could say, Mars in this case. We don't really have a lot of volatility in here. I wouldn't say that's a lot of volatility, but right in this peak, we do have a strong down, strong up around here as well. Wanes down as the energy level wanes. Here, really volatile period. And over here, really volatile periods. So up as the energy increases, and then down as the energy increases. Remember, we want to know what other planets are interacting at the time. The planets I have chosen are, so I've basically got Mars, and I've got Sun, Moon, Mars and Jupiter as our planets that we're using. And I've also got them at 0 degrees, 90, 120, and 180 degrees, okay? Now, unfortunately, this little energy level tool here doesn't give us the ability to see what the actual activity is happening at the moment. So market moves up in this time period, Mars becomes active, it forces the downtrend to be really strong. Mars becomes active right here, forces the downtrend to be really strong. No energy, market sort of reverses, Mars becomes active again, right in here. Market peaks out, so volatility starts to increase, storms down, storms up around the midpoint here, and then wanes off. Market sort of starts to trade sideways. Whatever's happening over here is happening. Here, not a lot happened. We had this volatility or rise in volume occur just at this point. Not a lot was happening. volume increased here. So that's basically it. So you could just go forward in time and just keep watching this happen over and over again and just keep looking at when the volatility is increasing. I don't want to bore you too much. I'll cut this video off now, but this is how we use this theory. If you want to learn more, if you want to be able to apply this practically, that's where the McWhirter program will come in and it'll teach you all this stuff, okay? Alrighty, so in the last section, I walked you through the Mars aspect and how Mars can be a trigger of activity in the market. Well, in this section, what I've done is I've built out the full McWhirter theory for using it on individual stocks, so forecasting if the market's likely to be bullish or bearish during a specific time. And it has been put together using a very similar theory that I used when I did our secondary factors. So we're looking for a culmination of whether we're overly bullish or overly bearish over a specific time. Now, due to the lack of historical data for Bitcoin, I'm unable to actually analyze every single aspect and determine if an aspect is bullish or bearish on the actual data as opposed to what is commonly said. It's good to actually analyze if it's bullish or bearish on the actual data so that we can go ahead and manipulate the data as we need to. I know that's all boring to listen to, so what we have here is we have the zero line, which is just currently sitting up here. It'll move around the chart, but the zero line's up here. Anything below this tells us that the energy level is below zero. As it pushes above zero for any period of time, it tells us that the energy is above zero. And then again, as it pushes below zero, this is where the energy level, basically this is where it strengthens, and this is where it leads out to. This little hump here could tell us that we have a planet interacting at the current point in time, which is influencing a push higher in price. And then it's deactivating, and then you can see this resuming trend downwards into this portion here before it starts to wane off. So what I mean, how does that look? Well, we bring up this, we have our information window, and right here, if I click right here, we have an aspect right here, which is occurring in August. Now, if I go forward in time, as we can see, if we keep going forward in time, we now have that original aspect, which is occurring back here. And now we have a second aspect occurring between basically Mars square the Sun. And as we go forward in time, the aspect of Mars square the Sun becomes stronger. And then we move down so then we move down, and then we have just at this point this aspect here of the opposition with the Moon and Saturn, okay? So let's move forward in time. We can see that we have that same aspect occurring. Here we get positive energy coming in, taking us to that blue line. And the blue line is basically equilibrium. It's where price should be non-determinable by these aspects. So because I've come in at a very strange angle, you have no theory or background on this, I'm going to put it like this. The planetary aspects help push above or below the mean energy levels in the market, and that can be an example of pushing above or below a mean in price, and it can help push price higher or pull price down, okay? It's not the only determiner of price moves. Price moves based on fundamentals, it can move based on technicals, it can move based on other things, but then the planetary aspects, it's really good when these sync up with price because it tells us that price is being met by the planetary aspects. And that means it's basically, if we could use fair value as the terminology, it's when markets are at fair value. You know, they're being pulled and pushed with planetary influences, and that is what I would consider fair value. As we move out of these swings and see the market moves higher in this instance, however, we have the planetary aspect still moving lower, that's pushing against the grain, okay? So we're still below the zero line. So in this whole period here, we had basically negative energy on price. This market push up was then met, and then it fell into a low around here. Anyway, then the positive energy started to come in, markets moved higher. So I could just move over a little bit. The unfortunate thing about Bitcoin is that price rises so quickly, so fast, it's hard to actually capitalize or capture it when I'm moving it just a little bit, because it'll just squeeze everything on a log chart. So in this instance, we have positive energy in the market, so the market's actually being pushed higher with the energy. This point right here, we then get a basic disconnect of, so this is January 2011, this is February 2011, so we get about a disconnect of about a month between the energy levels and the price levels. So you get this rocket higher around here, and then the price is topping out basically a month later. And then it moves down in energy to around this point here, being its peak. And then it starts to push higher again. Still hasn't gone above the positive energy, but we can see that the energy is getting stronger into that 0 point. Again, how does it get to that 0 point? Well, basically we have one negative, one positive aspect occurring. So it moves from that full negative occurrence right here, and it moves into basically equilibrium where price is being supported with planetary action. We sort of get the framework where we're still getting the same sort of like rollover pattern in price. However, we're still below that 0 line. So that means that the bias should still be down given planetary energy. Yes, we can see that we moved into a market peak. However, peaked and then rolled over pretty quickly, supporting that move. So this is all now no planetary energy on the market. I'm sure we could find some, I just haven't got it modeled in right now. Then we have our rush into our first peak, pull away, rush into our second peak, and then pull away. This is the area where energy was at its highest. Here's another area where energy was at its highest. So down here, it started to get volatile in this period. We're still in a sideways trend. I would say that this was not very interesting. This is the aspect at the time. Here we have above 0 line still, so we still should be supporting the move higher. Energy level runs out here. Here we go, negative energy. The price actually rose during this time. Positive energy down to the 0 line, and then we're at positive energy moving out. At this point here, the positive energy waned. We have a big negative bias coming in. As you can see, this sort of slope down with these spikes means that we have a major negative energy coming into the market, or in basically aspecting the market that we're trading, which is Bitcoin. So we get the spike, negative energy keeps pulling it down, and it finds a low around here. Again, because of the pricing of the market, it's hard to capture that. But this spike was short-lived, and then the market traded down. Then we move higher, we get positive energy, so we get a rush higher in price. So it goes from negative energy, pulling higher, so getting positive energy now coming into the market. We're now above the 0 line, so should be all positive energy in the market now. Then we're getting pulled down, we get negative energy around here, pulled up with positive energy, pulled down negative energy, up with that positive energy, and then we can see that we get negative energy pull all the way down to here. Nicely trending and trading down with the market. Then we can see that we get energy levels pushing higher into this period up here. Prices did top out a little bit before them. Then they go negative. It would look to have been, again, just want to remind you, prices will push higher into a peak, and these negative energies will come in and pull it down. So it's just going to come in. So these are all the aspects that are occurring at this time. All right. Push higher above the positive line, and then it crumbles with price and energy falls lower. Push higher into an energy level peak, push lower, push higher. Not real much of a market movement here. And then the market sort of goes between positive and negative as the market moves down. It's actually moving down to this point down here. The negative energy was short-lived. It didn't go all the way down like it did back here. Short-lived energy levels downwards, but we can see that the market was also not really respecting this push higher in this period. So we still had a lot of negative energy in this period here below the 0 line with sort of short spikes higher in energy. Anyway, then we can see that the positive energy was coming in with a big aspect and was taking it back to the 0 line. And that's when the energy level ran out. This one in here, we can see that we have a negative energy in here. So the market was pushing up and then strongly reversed into it, then tried to recover. No planetary energy levels in here that I've got factored in at the moment. Then we have this run up here where the energy levels actually pointing higher into this area. You can see that price was also being supported and the market was moving higher. If I can get it captured correctly, that would be great. So positive energy, market's moving higher. Then we get the negative energy activating right here. So again, negative energy can start around here, pull it down, but it goes below 0 at this point. That's when we should be looking for the negative bias to overturn. It pulls it down, get positive energy coming in here because we get that spike. So it pulls it up around this time frame. Then we get negative energy coming in, sort of going sideways to down, positive energy around. So this period to this period has positive energy, then negative energy again, then the positive energy. So we're a bit sideways at the moment. And then matches up down here, and we get the energy for the negative aspects are waning. I'll just get rid of this now. Negative aspects are waning, and then we get the positive energy is taking over in this place. So market's moving up strongly. This is 2016. Market's moving up while there's positive energies in effect. It then comes out of effect here, so there's no positive or negative energy in the market. This period right here had negative energy, but the markets did not do anything. So it would have come down into a midpoint right here, and then positive energy took over. I know this is very confusing and probably very annoying to listen to. I'm just trying to walk you through this so that way you actually know. And then this period right here, we had positive energy, negative energy, or I shouldn't say negative. Positive energy was waning to negative. It didn't actually go below the zero line in this instance, but the negative energy came in, then positive energy came back in, negative energy ended here, no more aspects. This period right here, so market moved up, moved down into the start of this energy level. Positive energy pushed it higher, no aspects here, taken over by technicals, fundamentals, etc. This period right here, we can see that we have a lot of negative energy, but actually, if we look at it, the market's actually traded higher in this time. So it went from 1,000 to 2,900. So no real effect that we would have seen, but I probably would have been expecting that the markets would be more bearish than bullish during this time. So I'd probably have to look at the model and how it's set up here. Then we have this period here where we got positive energy coming into the markets, sort of waning in this point, so it reaches a peak right here. Actually, that was the low point. That was exact inversion in price. Then we get the push higher. Then it sort of wanes down into lows, comes down into the bottom here. Very nice curve that we sort of get with price here. All right, so then we get positive energy pushing in. This point here, we get negative energy. Price is still pushing higher though. Should have peaked out in price. It would have been good if it peaked out in price around here before waned off maybe half a month early for the energy and price. So it starts to wane off into that negative territory around here. Sort of see that with the bottoms. Then we get that energy level higher. The energy level peaked around August the 10th. However, the market actually peaked towards the end of July, start of August. Energy levels start to decline, so we get this kind of push downwards right here, okay? We get into a positive energy right here, just a small push higher, then down, sort of gyrating, now positive to negative. We're still negative at this whole point here. We're still below the zero line. However, we are pushing higher in price, and the energy level is being brought up by a secondary factor. As you can see, it's sort of waning higher. We get this push lower right here, push lower, which we can see in price. And then this whole period, we would have been expecting possibly bearishness, but the market continued higher. Wasn't really supported by the energy levels, but we can see that the market did move higher during this time. So that's pretty much it. That's just a rundown of what we've been working on. And this is applying the McWhirter theory to actually individual markets. So what we'll be looking at now is just, or what I'll be looking at now is just to actually refine this just a little bit further so we can get some of them peaks and troughs more accurately defined. That means we have to actually look at each planetary alignment, what its effect is on the market, and then we also have to adjust the weightings to see if specific weightings are being overpowered right now, which means, for example, we might have like a weighting of 2 for Saturn and Mars, and we might have like a weighting of 1 or 1.5 for Jupiter. So I need to just play with all that. This is the kind of theory that we're working with now, and we're looking to, what would be ideal is if we can get real good models which basically sunk up with sort of these moves here. We can get like the real tight curves, and we can find where the energy levels are being supported, okay? That would be the ideal situation. Anyway, this is all being done inside the McWhirter theory of stock market forecasting. If you're interested in joining that, you can. You've now got a bit of a basic idea on what I'm doing and what we're putting together. And I'd definitely encourage you to do your own research and figure out how to do this yourself if you're not part of the group, because it can be pretty phenomenal when you actually figure out how it all fits together. Anyway, talk to you soon.